The judge was lifting the gavel to send me to prison for a crime I did not commit. The prosecutor was smiling like he'd already hung me on his wall, and then the back doors of the courtroom swung open and my father walked in flanked by 2 state cops. I hadn't seen that man in over a year. I never expected him to show up for me. And I definitely did not expect half the room to whisper his name like breaking news the Attorney General. Yeah, that happened. Let me start from the beginning so you understand how close I came to being buried alive. My name is Devin Washington, 19 years old when this went down. If you'd seen me that morning, you would have thought I was just another scared kid who couldn't afford a real lawyer. The suit they gave me was shiny, 2 sizes too big, sleeves swallowing my wrists, pants breaking wrong on my shoes like I had borrowed adulthood from somebody else, and it didn't fit. The courtroom in Maricopa County Superior Court had that smell you never forget, burnt coffee, floor wax, old paper, nerves. You know what I mean, that tired government building smell that tells you you're not supposed to feel human in there. I sat at the defense table staring at the polished wood at my cuffed hands at the faces of 12 strangers who were about to decide if I had a life left. The name of my case was State versus Washington. The irony of that wouldn't hit some people until later. Across from me was the star of the show, Prosecutor Leland Pierce. If you looked at him without knowing better, you might think there goes the hero. Tall, fit, expensive haircut, perfect suit, the kind of white smile that makes juries feel safe and TV crews feel lucky. His conviction rate was legendary. They called him a shark, called him tough on crime. He called kids like me repeat customers, and laughed. To my right was my attorney public defender Rachel Berg. No $1,000 suit, no TV smile, just a messy bun, cheap blazer folders exploding with notes and eyes that hadn't slept properly in weeks. She apologized for not having more time on my case. I told her I just wanted someone who believed me. She looked at me for a long second, saw something, and said, "I do." That was the first real lifeline I got. So how did I end up there? A week earlier, I was walking alone at night in a gray hoodie with my backpack cutting across town from Eastlake Park. Eastlake was where I went to write. I make music, mostly lyrics, scribbled in this beat-up notebook. It was late, but not crazy late, just one of those Arizona nights where the air finally cools down and you can breathe. I had my headphones in, no gun, no cigars, no stolen money, nothing. Squad car rolls up, lights hit me hard like somebody turned the world white. Doors slam. 2 officers, Sergeant Mike Ailey and his partner. Guns not pointed but ready, voices sharp. "Hands up. Turn around." What did I do? You already know how that question lands. Next thing I know, I'm face down on rough concrete, knee grinding into my back wrist, twisted so hard I thought it snapped. One of them is going through my backpack, pulling things out. Notebook, headphones, t-shirt. Then suddenly there's a crushed box of Black Crown cigars at the bottom. I don't smoke, I have asthma, my mom died from lung cancer, I don't play with that. They said there'd been an armed robbery at a Circle K up on Jefferson. Suspect black male gray hoodie. That's it, that's the whole description. Which in my neighborhood is like saying human being sighted. So they grab me, hold that cigar box up like a trophy, say I match. I try to explain, try to tell them it's not mine. Try not to panic with a gun and a knee on me. You already know how that sounds in their ears. Fast forward, they charge me. Armed robbery, threat with a firearm. They say I pointed a gun at the clerk, stole money, stole cigars. No gun found on me, no fingerprints on the cigars. But hey, I'm black, I'm broke, I'm alone, and the cigars are in my bag now. That was enough for Pierce to smell blood. Trial day 1. I sat there listening to this man rewrite my life like he owned the pen. He started with the store clerk, Kyle Morton. Kyle was about 20, skinny, pale, hands shaking when he took the stand. You could see he wasn't built for all this, but fear makes people do funny things. Pierce walked him through his story like he'd done it 100 times, voice smooth, body language calm. What happened that night, Mr. Morton? Kyle said a man came in with a gun, threatened him, took the cash, grabbed a box of Black Crown cigars. Nothing unusual for a robbery narrative. Then came the part that mattered. Do you see the man who robbed you in this courtroom? Kyle glanced over, kind of waved toward our table. Rachel jumped up immediately. Objection, Your Honor. The witness gestured at the defense table, which includes both me and my client. The judge, Fiona Kincaid, stone face, granite voice, nodded. Sustained. Mr. Pierce, be specific. Mr. Morton, you must be precise. So Pierce reset the trap. Do you see the man who robbed you? Please point directly at him. Kyle swallowed, wiped his hands, then pointed straight at me. Him. It was him. You feel that moment where a stranger's finger suddenly weighs more than your whole life. Rachel tried to crack it on Cross. She pulled out his first statement to police where he had said the robber wore a ski mask. Full mask, couldn't see his face, didn't know the race. Today, under Pierce's questions, Kyle was suddenly sure it was me. "You said the robber wore a ski mask, so how did you see my client's face?" Kyle stuttered, said the guy pulled the mask up for a second on the way out like some cartoon villain taking a bow. Rachel pushed, asked why a robber in the middle of a crime would show his face. Pierce objected. Judge told Rachel she couldn't accuse Pierce of feeding the ID without proof. And like that, the moment passed. But not before I saw it, a flicker in Kyle's eyes. Guilt. When he stepped off the stand, he glanced at me real quick, and it wasn't hate in that look. It was apology. Next came Sergeant Alley. The room shifted for him. 20-year cop, heavy shoulders, bulldog face, voice full of fake certainty. He told the jury about the APB, about spotting me walking quickly, about me matching the description, about me getting agitated, about the minor struggle they called resisting. All those words that sound harmless on paper, but in a courtroom, they are grenades. Then he talked about the search of my backpack, how they found the cigars at the bottom under my things. Rachel's cross on him was sharper. "Sergeant, did your body camera record the stop?" "Yes." "Did it record the search of the backpack?" He shifted, said there was a battery issue, a short technical failure, only a 90-second gap. "Convenient, isn't it?" Rachel pressed the timing. The gap lined up exactly with the moment the cigars appeared. People in the gallery murmured. The jury looked uneasy. Pierce objected, said accidents happen. The judge noted the concern, but there it was, again, no concrete proof, just suspicion. Now here's where the story starts to really twist, but at that point, sitting there in chains, I didn't know any of it. All I knew was that a man in a perfect suit was building a perfect lie and the system was nodding along. At the end of that day, court recessed. I was led away. In the hallway, Pierce grabbed Ali, yanked him into an alcove, and let the shark mask slip. Rachel, on her way out of the restroom, accidentally overheard. "I don't believe in bad luck," Pierce hissed at Ali. "I believe in convictions. That public defender is making us look stupid. You and your partner better have your story straight or this whole thing goes sideways. I don't care if he's guilty. I care that the jury thinks he's guilty." Rachel heard that sentence, word for word. She didn't confront him there. But it burned into her, and that night she started planning how to use it. I spent the night in a cell staring at a crack in the wall, trying to imagine my life past the verdict. Tried to write in my head like I always did, but the words came out like static. Day 2, Rachel told me she wanted me to testify. "Are you sure?" I asked, voice low. "You know he's waiting to twist whatever I say." "Devin," she said, "they've heard everyone but you. They need to see you're a person, not a file, and I believe you. Let them hear you." So I went up. I told them about the park, about my notebook, about my music, about the headlights and commands and fear, about the cigars that weren't mine, about my asthma, about my mom and her cancer. My voice shook, but I didn't lie. I wanted them to feel what it is to be doing nothing wrong and still end up on the ground. For a moment, I saw something soften in a couple of faces. A juror in the front row looked like she might be thinking, might be questioning. Then Pierce stood. He walked toward me slow with that little predator calm. "So you're a musician," he said, "a rapper." You can hear the way he said rapper right. He tried to drag my lyrics into it, tried to paint me as anti-police, angry, dangerous. Rachel kept objecting. Judge Kincaid warned him, but he had already planted what he wanted. This kid doesn't respect authority. Then he broke the rules, on purpose. "Isn't it true you were arrested at 17 for shoplifting?" My heart stopped. Rachel was on her feet before I could breathe. "Objection. That record is sealed. Juvenile. Inadmissible. Mr. Pierce knows that." Judge Kincaid's voice was ice. "Sustained. Jury will disregard that question." Mr. Pierce approached the bench. They talked low voices, tense. I couldn't hear, but I saw the anger in her eyes. Then we moved on. "But let's be real, you don't unhear shoplifting. That stain stays even when the judge tells you to imagine it gone." When it was over and I stepped down, I whispered to Rachel, "I blew it." She shook her head, still watching Pierce. "You didn't," she said. "He did." Then came lunch recess, and that is when everything cracked open. While I was taken back, Rachel sprinted to the clerk's office to file a motion for mistrial prosecutorial misconduct. She laid it all out to Ben, the chief clerk, the illegal juvenile reference, the magical body cam gap, the hallway confession. At first he was skeptical. Judges don't like mistrials. But when she quoted Pierce, "I don't care if he's guilty, I care that the jury thinks he's guilty," Ben stopped treating it like courtroom drama and started treating it like a problem. He pulled my intake form, read my full name, Devin Isaiah Washington, looked at the box for father, read the name there too, Robert Washington. He frowned, clicked around on his computer, pulled up the official state website. There was the same name again, same spelling, same man. Robert Washington, Attorney General of Arizona, Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the state. Ben went pale. "Does your client know who his father is?" he asked Rachel. She said something about a strange construction, not close. Ben turned the screen. No, this is his father. In that moment, what had been just another frame job became a 5-alarm fire, because suddenly it wasn't just an innocent kid. It was the Attorney General's son, railroaded in broad daylight by a hotshot county prosecutor who never bothered to look past the hoodie. Rachel and Ben went straight to Judge Kincaid's chambers, burst in on her salad. They laid everything out, the threat, the line about not caring if I was guilty, the sealed record stunt, the body cam gap, the newly confirmed connection to Robert Washington. Judge Kincaid went quiet, not impressed, not intimidated, just furious in this cold, focused way. A prosecutor in her courtroom under her watch trying to manufacture a conviction on a kid he thought nobody cared about. She called the district attorney. Then she picked up the phone and told someone, "Get me Attorney General Robert Washington, now." Meanwhile, I was sitting alone in that holding cell, staring at my hands, thinking it's over, trying to decide if I would break down when the verdict came or try to die on the inside and keep my face blank. I had no idea the entire power structure of the state was shifting 10 feet above my head. When they brought me back in after lunch, the jury filed into their seats. Pierce stood ready with his closing argument, and Rachel sat down next to me with this electric tension in her shoulders. "You good?" I whispered. "Stay strong," she said, and that's all she gave me. Judge Kincaid nodded. "Mr. Pierce, you may proceed with your closing." He started in. Same story, same smug rhythm. "Ladies and gentlemen, the facts are simple." And then the doors at the back slammed. Everyone turned. 2 state police officers stepped inside, suits and badges visible. Between them, a tall black man in a navy suit, calm and furious all at once. He didn't look at the judge or Pierce or the public. He looked straight at me. My stomach dropped to the floor. "Dad," I whispered, "you ever watch a man realize in real time that he has ruined his own life?" I saw it in Pierce's eyes. He looked from me to my father, to the judge, back to my father, like the letters of our last name were rearranging themselves in his head too slowly. Judge Kincaid, voice like steel, "Please continue, Mr. Pierce." He tried. Stuttered, complained that this was improper, tried to say my father's presence was intimidation, tried to turn the tables. "Sit down, Mr. Pierce," she said. "Jury will be excused." The jury left, door shut, silence hit. The DA slipped in from the side, jaw clenched. My father walked up to the defense table, put a steady hand on my shoulder. That touch. It broke something loose in my chest I didn't know I'd locked away. He nodded once at Rachel. "Ms. Berg, well done." Then he turned to the bench. What happened next didn't feel real, but it was. My father told the court that his office had just received a sworn statement from Kyle Morton. Kyle admitted Pierce had shown him a single photo of me, told him I was the guy, hinted that if Kyle didn't point to me in court, his own past would get dragged back. He told them about the body cam logs they had pulled in that short window, that Allie's camera did not have a low battery, that it had been manually powered off for 94 seconds during the search of my bag. 94 seconds that magically birthed the cigars. He used words like witness tampering, coercion, fabrication of evidence, and this time those words weren't pointed at me. Pierce panicked, tried to talk over him, claimed conspiracy, looked at his boss, the DA, like a drowning man. The DA just stared, eyes full of disgust. "Leland," he said, "what did you do?" Judge Kincaid let my father finish, reviewed the folder he'd slid to her, then looked at Pierce like she'd just scraped him off her shoe. "In 20 years on this bench," she said, "I have never seen such grotesque prosecutorial misconduct. You are not seeking justice. You are hunting trophies." She turned to me. "Mr. Washington," she said, "I am declaring a mistrial. This case is dismissed with prejudice. You are free to go." They removed my cuffs. My wrists were red-skin dented, but I could move my hands again. It felt unreal, like the air had gotten thicker and lighter at the same time. But she wasn't done. "Mr. Pierce," she continued, "based on the evidence presented, I am referring you to the State Bar and to the Attorney General's office for criminal investigation." My father stepped in calm. "That investigation has already begun." The 2 state police officers moved to flank Pierce. "Leland Pierce," my father said, "you are under arrest for witness tampering, subornation of perjury, and obstruction of justice." The man who had tried to bury me started begging, to the judge, to his boss, to my father, to anyone. No one saved him. The click of his cuffs echoed in the same room where I heard mine loosen. I won't lie, that sound was satisfying. Hard karma. Now let me hit pause for a second and talk about what happened after, because this is where people either get mad or finally get it. The story went everywhere. Star prosecutor arrested in his own courtroom. Hotshot DA frames Attorney General's son. The internet ate it up. Late-night jokes, think pieces. People typed, "This is justice," with fire emojis. But here's what most of them missed. If my last name hadn't been Washington, if that clerk hadn't noticed, if Rachel hadn't been stubborn, I would have been just another file Pierce won. Another black kid who fit the description, another conviction on his chart. Nobody would have pulled the body cam logs. Nobody would have chased Kyle down. Nobody would have connected the dots. Once my father's office dug into Pierce's past cases, they tore open a pattern that had been there the whole time. In case after case, especially where the defendant was black or Latino, there were missing videos, surprise evidence witnesses who later said they felt pressured. People who had been locked up for years suddenly had someone important listening. Some walked out. Some are still fighting. Some will never get those years back. That's the part that sticks in my throat. Pierce lost his license, lost his job, got disowned by his own fancy lawyer family. His wife left. He went from golden boy to headline villain. Eventually, he took a plea deal, 8 years in state prison. You want a little poetic touch? They assigned him to the prison law library. Surrounded by all the rules he twisted to choke people like me. Every book spine another reminder. Is that enough? 8 years for what he did to dozens of lives. You tell me, do you think that's fair? Rachel. The woman who believed me when all she had was my word and a sick feeling about a too-perfect case got flooded with offers from big firms. Big money, corner office, fancy everything. She turned them down. My father asked her to help lead a conviction integrity unit instead, to go case by case and drag Pierce's ghosts into the light. She said yes. That might be the most hopeful part of this entire mess. And me and my father, that is its own story. After the courtroom cleared out, after the cameras backed off, we ended up in that big empty room, just the two of us. The judge's bench above us quiet now, like it was watching. You came, I said. It came out shaky. Not just gratitude, accusation. I came, he said. Why now? I asked, the words tasting bitter. Why did I have to almost go to prison for us to be in the same room? He flinched. For once, the Attorney General didn't have a speech. Just a man who realized he'd almost lost his son for good. Why didn't you call me? He asked. Because I didn't want to be the Attorney General's son, I said. I wanted to be just Devin. And look where just Devin almost ended up. They looked at me and saw a statistic. If that clerk hadn't realized who I was, if Rachel hadn't heard what she heard, if you hadn't walked through those doors, I'd be gone. You know that. I would be gone. I was angry, I was shaking, I was crying before I noticed it. He listened, really listened. Then he said something I never expected him to say. You're right. He said the system was broken, that he'd spent his life thinking he could fix it by playing inside the rules, not realizing how many people were getting swallowed while he made speeches about justice. He said that when he got the call about me, he didn't come as the AG, he came as my father, and in that moment he would have burned the whole courthouse down if he had to. Then he pulled me into a hug. Not a photo op hug, not a politician hug. It was messy. I clung to him. For a minute it was just a dad and a son in a room full of ghosts. We are still rebuilding. That doesn't wrap up in one scene. So why am I telling you this like this? Because on paper my story looks like a win. Corrupt prosecutor, exposed innocent man, freed powerful dad, steps in system, self-corrects. Clean arc, feels good. But the truth under it is not clean. The system didn't suddenly become fair. It flinched because it accidentally hurt the wrong family. It listened because the guy on the line happened to be important. The story you are hearing now. The reason there's a happy-ish ending is because my name rang a bell in the clerk's mind, because my father had power, because my public defender refused to be scared of a golden boy. So here's the twist that should bother you. Justice worked for me. Not because the system is fair, but because it panicked when it realized it had almost eaten its own. What does that say about everybody who doesn't have an attorney general on speed dial? If it were you at that table, if it were your brother, your kid, your friend sitting there in the itchy suit listening to a stranger calmly rewrite their life, what would you have done? How do you fight a game that's rigged before you even roll the dice? I want you to really sit with that. And now I want you to talk to me. Tell me in the comments, was 8 years enough for Pierce? Do you believe that was justice or just a PR bandage? Have you seen this kind of thing happen where you live, where someone who looks the part gets picked up and everyone assumes the system must be right? If you work in law enforcement or as a lawyer, I want to hear your side too. Defend it, challenge it, argue with me. If this story made you angry or gave you chills or made you look at tough on crime speeches a little differently, hit that like button so more people get this in their feed. Share this video with someone who still believes wrongful convictions are rare, and subscribe if you want more real stories where karma doesn't just knock, it kicks the damn door in. Because justice isn't blind by default. It sees exactly who it's looking at, and it's on all of us to make sure it can't look away.